Shalom, 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 Yasha Allah. This your boy, Brother Shamwa Allah, back at you with another quick edifying video. Today's lesson is going to be called The Wicked, Which Is Thy Sword. The Wicked, Which Is Thy Sword. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and His only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days, and has pushed this gospel and this truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. All right, like I said, today's lesson, the wicked, which is thy sword. All right, and I just looking at this video of Esau, basically, him and Jake going after it, and you ultimately understand that Yahawah Bahasham Yahshai uses Esau, which is the wicked, as his sword, right, to punish, all right, to punish our people, man, and I'm just going to play this video, right? Remember, Esau's blessing is the sword, right? And the modern day sword is the gun, okay? So I just want to play this real quick. Salakia.
Hey, brother, do me a favor. Come here. Hey, stop. Smoke for two.
All right, now you see right here, he's already pretty much unloaded his clip. He's about to go again.
Sam 5, I'm hit. Shots fired.
Unloading again, getting it at the other clip. Now Jake is on the ground at this point. All right, let's see.
Sam 5, I'm hit multiple times. Set meds. Suspect down.
All right. So he, yeah, this is the wicked is used to punish, Jake, man, right? to punish Jacob, man, right? Esau was created, as a whooping stick. All right, and let's get that real quick, right? Let's go here real quick. Right, you see these things, and all this stuff is, when you see this stuff, it's biblical. Okay, it's biblical. Matter of fact, let's get that. Let's go to Psalm 17 and verse number 13. All right, it says, "Arise, O Yahawah, Bahasham Yahawashi, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword." All right, the wicked, which is thy sword. The Lord, right, the Heavenly Father Yahawah, right, uses the wicked as his sword, right, to do what? To place punishment on the children of Israel. Okay, and right now he is we are in Job chapter 9 verse 24. It says, "The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?" All right. So you might say, well, how do you know that they're the wicked? Well, let's go to Malachi, right? and show you that they are the wicked, right? The devil that the Bible speaks of, Esau, Edom, right? Um, let's see. Let's just go to verse number 4, right? It says, Malachi chapter 1, verse 4. It says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahawah, Bahasham of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, right? And the people against whom Yahawah, Bahasham have indignation forever. Okay, so the scriptures call them the border of wickedness. Okay, they are the wicked that the Bible speaks of, right? Esau, Edom. Okay, when you go into the NLT, it says Esau's descendants, who are what? The Edomites, right? Or what you would call today the so-called white man, right? It says Esau's descendants in Edom may say, we have been shattered, but we will build the ruins. But Yahawah Bahasham Shai of heaven's army replies, they may try to rebuild, but I will demolish them. Their country will be known as the land of wickedness, and the people there, Salakia, and their people will be called the people whom Yahawah Bahasham Shai is forever angry. Okay, but he created them to do what? To as the sword, right? He created the wicked to be a sword to do what? To punish the children of Israel, right? In our time of calamity, in our time of wickedness. All right. Let's get at Ezekiel 35, right? In verse number so Mount Seir, right? When you see Mount Seir is Esau, right? But let's just get to the point. Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse number 5, it says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, right? In the time of their calamity and the time that their iniquity had an end. It says, therefore, as I live, saith Yahawah Bahasham Shai, the Most High Power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Okay, but the Lord, He said that the children of Israel, the children of Salakia, of Esau, the Edomites, right? They've had a perpetual hatred, right? Of what? They had a perpetual hatred against the Israelites, right? And you can see that being played out, right? I was just watching, came across an article or a video, right? And you had the little Sheetamite out there, and they had a sign, right? And the sign said, no niggers, no Mexicans, no Puerto Ricans, and no dogs allowed. That was a sign out there, right? They've had this perpetual, and perpetual means an ongoing, right? When you see the NLT, it says, your eternal hatred for the people of Israel led you to butcher them when they were helpless, when I had already punished them for all their sins, right? And we see, right? this devil has a perpetual hatred, right? And we've seen it. Okay? We've seen it. And he continues to do it, right? That was a video, I think it was a couple of years ago, but it was, recent from 2 days ago. But you see, right? You see it all the time in all the cities throughout Babylon, right? And all around the world, pretty much, right? Where this devil, he goes and he loves to shed blood. But that's his nature, right? The nature of his forefather. All right. When we go back to Genesis, right? 25 and I believe it is 17. No. 27 maybe. Salakia. Con. Here we go. Genesis chapter 25 and verse 27. It says, and the boys grew, right? Because remember, Esau and Jacob were twins. They were twins in the womb. Okay. One came out looking normal, right? We had melanin, Jacob, right? And Esau came out without melanin, right? He came out with that basically the clean leprosy, the clean leprosy, all right, that you see today, all right, lacking the melanin, okay? But it says, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents, okay? It says, in the NLT, it says, as the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter. He was an outdoorsman, right? And what does Esau love to do, man? You see, listen, they love to go camping, hunting, right? They love to go and get their bow and arrows, right? Their guns, and go out and try to kill something. That's their nature, right? It says he was an outdoorsman, but Jacob had a quiet temperament, preferring to stay at home, right? And you see, Jake just like to hang on the block, chill, right? He ain't doing too much, you know what I'm saying? But Esau wants to get into any and everything. He wants to, but his true nature is hunting, right? And ultimately his blessing was what? Was that sword, all right? Genesis chapter 27 and verse number 40. Let's see. Let's go to, so remember, Esau basically sold his birthright to Jacob, right? And you understand Jacob's name means supplanter. He supplanted his brother, right? And had him sell his birthright, right? And he sold it for some porridge that wasn't even fully cooked, man. But these are all our traits, of who we see, the Edomites today, man, right? They'll eat a steak, and the less cooked it is, the better, right? That's what they love. They love blood. That's why I said, because thou lovest blood, blood shall follow thee. And they love to hunt. Okay? That's in their nature, right? So when Isaac blessed Jacob, right? Because remember, Isaac, Rebecca had Jacob, act like he was Esau, and dressed him up, and Isaac gave Jacob the blessing, and Esau came back and found out that Isaac had blessed Jacob, right? So let's read on Genesis chapter 27, verse 38. And it says, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me even also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept, right? And that's what they do, the little alligator tears, right? Even to this day, right? It says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. All right. And you see, right, this devil has conquered the known world, taken over people's land by force, by the sword. All right. And even in the heavens, right? He's got his space station out there, right? This is his blessing, right? But how did he do it? It says, and by thy, verse 40, and by thy sword shall thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck, right? And we see, during that time of, the Renaissance, they've taken over, all right? And what happened? What did they do? They took the children of Israel into captivity, right? Bought them here, hardcore slavery, right? Wore them out, right? The scriptures talk about how they're going to wear out the saints of the Most High. And that's exactly what they do, right? Because they are the wicked, right? And the wicked were created, right? He was created to punish, right? Jacob, all right, our people, man, all right. And you know, he is the wicked, which is thy sword, right? And his blessing is the sword, right? That's why nobody can mess with him with that. You saw that he had a shootout with a Jake, right? And you saw you know, he got shot, but he kept shooting. He got, one hand took the clip out, he put 2-3 clips in and unloaded it on Jake, right? Unloaded it on Jake. And if you continue watching, you see another cop pull up and they just drag Jake. Jake shot up. He done. And they go and they drag him, flip him over, handcuff him, right? And then go attend to their guy. All right. But this, he was created for for the punishment. Okay. And so what's gonna happen is, ultimately, you know, when the new covenant comes, right, and we're not gonna sin anymore, and there's not gonna be any usage or use for Esau, right? After the 1,000 years, after he's built back the kingdom, he's gonna have to bury dead bodies and do all this stuff like the scriptures say. After he's done all that work for the 1,000 years, then he's gonna be eradicated. There's no use for him, right? But ultimately, he says, by thy sword thou shalt live, and thou shalt serve thy brother, right? Because remember, he's a hunter. And what does he do? Right? When we go to the book of Lamentations 4 and verse number 18, right? It says, they hunt our steps that we cannot go out in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled and our end is come. All right. But, this devil, he's proud, and he goes far and beyond with his punishments and his wickedness. Right. And the Lord knows that. Right. When you keep going down, it says Lamentations 4, Salakia in verse 21, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom. It says that dwellest in the land of Uz, the cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and thou shalt make thyself naked. It says the punishment of thy iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion, and he will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thy iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. All right. Now remember, the Lord used Esau, right, to punish Jacob, right? To punish you Israelites, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? But our time of punishment is coming up, right? But ultimately, Yahawah put Esau in a trick bag because, he used them for that, and now he's going to punish them for doing it, all right? Because, they act like, it's all them, right? Let's get this. Zechariah chapter 1 and all these rest of these nations, right? Zechariah chapter 1 and verse 15, it says, and I am very displeased. I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was a little displeased, right? With displeased what? With his people, the Israelites. All right. It says, I was a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. All right. When you read it in the NLT, it says, but I am very angry with the other nations that are now enjoying peace and security. I was only a little angry with my people, but the nations inflicted harm on them far beyond my intentions. So don't think that you're going to get away with it. All right. Everything that you're doing. Right. But the Lord has put that spirit upon Esau to, as his, as the whooping stick. All right. But, Esau takes it, to the next level. Especially when you think about even, the slavery, man, right? When you think about the transatlantic slavery and all that, what they were doing, to the children of Israel, how they was, breaking the men, right? They was, just all types of stuff, okay? You know, I mean, the movies don't even do it justice. You know, I know one movie. What is that? What is that? Birth of a Nation, right? When they had the guy who wouldn't eat, and they started breaking his teeth out, you know, and put a funnel down to feed him, right? This is what this devil did, man. Okay, you know, and he just takes things to the extreme, but the Lord is going to get his payback. All right. Um, let's go to the book of Psalm, right? Book of Psalms 137, and let's go to verse number 7. It says, "Remember, O Yahawah, Bahasham, the children of Edom, and the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundations thereof." It says, "O daughter of Babylon, who art thou to be destroyed? Happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us." Okay. When you read it in the NLT, it says, "O Yahawah Bahasham Shai, remember what the Edomites did on the day the armies of Babylon captured Jerusalem. Destroy it," they yelled. "Level it to the ground. O Babylon, you will be destroyed. Happy is the one who pays you back for what you have done to us." Okay. And ultimately this place that they've taken over, right? What is that? You know, because this devil, he remember his fatness was of the earth, and he basically took over everything. Salakia. What is it? Can't remember where it was. Here we go. This is Micah chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand." And right now we know that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? And they're using their evilness and their wickedness, and they're doing all these things. Why? Because it's in their power to do it. So they do all these things. They'll shoot a man, 20 something times, right? As he's laying on the ground, they'll do that, right? And then they'll give off of it, right? What does it say? "Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty," right? But it says, "And they covet fields and take them by violence," right? And how did they do? How did Esau take over, the world, right? By violence, right? By that sword, all right? By his weaponry, okay? Bringing fire down, all right? It says, "And take them away." So like, let me read it again. Verse 2, it says, "And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage," right? And they'll even take away your own identity and start calling themselves you, and say that you're not you, I'm you, right? That's what this devil does. But the Lord has made him, as the sword. And as the sword, he is afflicting violence. All right. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, right? 49. And let's start at let's see. Here we go. Let's start at verse 10, right? Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 10, it says, "But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places," right? And we know, what did Paul say? That there must be a falling away first, and that son of perdition be revealed. That son of perdition is talking about Esau, right? Knowing who he is, right? Because he's trying to go under all these different names, right? He's created names so that he can avoid being who he is. But we know who Esau is, all right? Through the spirit and power of Yahawashi. We know who he is. He's being revealed, okay? So it said, but I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself, right? He can't hide himself anymore, right? The prophets are out, and they're calling them out, and they're pointing them out. They're showing, hey, that's the devil right there, right? Devil means to deceive, okay? It says, he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not, right? It says, in the NLT, it says, but I will strip bare the land of Edom, and there will be no place left to hide. Its children, its brothers, its neighbors will all be destroyed, and Edom itself will be no more, right? Because this place, Babylon, right? This place is going to be destroyed, okay? It says, let's jump down. Verse number 12. It says, for thus saith Yahawah Yahawashi, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken, right? Because our people, we drink of this cup, right, of wickedness. We're supposed to be the righteous, but we've drunken, the cup of indignation and wrath of the Lord, okay? But it says, for thus saith Yahawah Yahawashi, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it, right? And they're trying to do anything and everything to not have to drink and get that payback, right? That's why in the book of Revelations 18, it says, fill unto him double according to what he's done unto you, okay? It says for verse 13, for I have sworn by myself, saith Yahawah Yahawashi, that Basra, right, which is the capital of Edom, right, shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be a perpetual waste, okay? And the Lord is going to utterly destroy this place, right? This place where their pride is so high, okay? And they think that they're doing all this of themselves, but it was ultimately of Yahawah Yahawashi. And now, guess what? Our punishment is coming to a close, right? And now, listen, they're trying to find ways they're trying to see if they can go to the moon, if they can go to Mars, right? They're trying to escape their job, but there's no escaping. They're trying to create a new world, right? Because it says Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of what that follows. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to re-extend their world, and it's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen. All right, he's taken his pride and his ability to be the wicked. He's taken it to the fullest. Okay, but ultimately he will be taken down, right? Because when we are made pure, and we won't be sinning anymore, then there's not going to be any need for Esau. All right, because he was created, as our punishment, as the whooping stick for us. All right, and now our time of punishment is coming to an end. Right. That's what go to the book of Baruch. Right, and but you see, it's going to be one last hurrah. I mean, he's gonna go with the big hurrah. All right, we got Jacob's trouble coming on his way. All right, Baruch 4 and 25. Right, it says, "My children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from the Most High." All right, so this came upon us from the Most High. Why? Because verse number 6, right? Baruch chapter 4, verse 6, "You were sold to the nations," right? As what? As slaves, not for your destruction, but because you moved the Most High to wrath, you were delivered unto the enemies, right? And we were, slaves amongst all these nations, right? But that number one enemy, right, is Esau, right? David said, I hate them with a perfect hatred. All right. It says, for ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to the Most High. And ye have forgotten the everlasting power that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. Right. Therefore, we went into captivity. Okay. Let's see, it says, verse 15, for he have brought a nation upon them from far, a shameless nation and of a strange language, who neither reverenced old men nor pity child. Right? Think about that in slavery. When you look at some of those photos, right, you had people out there looking like they 70s and 80s, and then you had little babies, man, 3 and 4 picking cotton. Okay. So it says, verse number 24, I'm going to start there. It says, let's start at verse number 23. It says, for I sent you out with mourning and weeping, right? We were taken away from our land, right? Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Okay. For I sent you out with mourning and weeping, but the Most High will give you to me again with joy and gladness forever. Like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they see shortly your salvation from our power, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of the everlasting. Because when Yahawashi comes back, guess what? He's coming back to save the elect, to gather the elect from the four winds, for the four corners of the earth. And he's coming to bring judgment upon Edom. All right. For all the things that they have done and what they've done to him. Right. He says, even those who pierced him, hey, they're going to see and they're going to feel the wrath, right? When Yahawashi comes back, right? He said, I'm going to meet you. I'm not going to meet you as a man. Okay. It says, my children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from the Most High, for thine enemy hath persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction and shalt tread upon his neck. Okay? Because when Yahawashi comes, right, those of the elect, they're going to get beamed up into those chariots. And guess what? As soon as they're beamed up into them chariots, right, they're going to be transformed, never to be able to sin again, right? And because we sin, that's when we were sent to these other nations. That's when we were under captivity. That's when Jake gets shot 30 times, right? This is all the judgment of the Lord. But when we're transformed and we're not able to sin anymore, right? Hey, we're going to take all that back, right? And Esau is going to have to clean up the whole mess that he made, right? And build back the kingdom. And once that's done after 1,000 years, then bye-bye. There's no need for you. Okay? But right now, hey, he's the wicked, which is thy sword. All right? So I just want to do a quick little